The silence before you speak holds more power than the 1,000 words you're tempted to unleash. Yet most women never learn this sacred truth. The majority of women receive extensive training in caring for others, yet precious few ever discover the art of governing themselves. Consider this: a woman who fails to master her speech will forfeit respect. A woman who cannot regulate her emotional climate will surrender her commanding presence. A woman who handles her finances carelessly will sacrifice her freedom. And a woman who leaves her thoughts ungoverned will drift through existence in a perpetual state of reaction rather than conscious choice. We exist in an era where distractions bombard us relentlessly, yet self-knowledge remains elusive. External beauty receives worship while inner discipline suffers neglect. Many sacrifice their core identity in pursuit of shallow connections. Yet authentic connection never originates from your words to others. It springs from the profound stillness you can maintain within your own company. This discourse transcends mere conversation. It extends an invitation to rediscover, not your former self, but your evolved, wiser version. The woman who speaks sparingly yet communicates powerfully, who abandons emotional reactivity forever, who safeguards her tranquility like a holy flame and commits daily to inner stillness despite the world's clamor. Should you feel prepared, let us commence. The vast majority of women fail to grasp the immense power residing in their speech. This encompasses not merely verbal expression, but the energetic impact they wield within relationships. Once words escape your lips, they cannot be recalled. In partnerships, bonds often shatter not from actions, but from utterances spoken during unconscious moments, words that penetrate hearts rather than ears. You might justify it as mere anger, stress, or frustration. Yet for the listener, these words become memories permanently inscribed upon their emotional being. From a biological standpoint, the human system responds to spoken language through alterations in heart rhythm, blood pressure, and hormonal balance. When harsh criticism or sarcasm reaches someone's ears, their brain activates defensive mechanisms via the amygdala. The survival response engages immediately. While a partner may not always respond verbally, their body responds silently, withdrawing, retreating, or gradually creating distance. Continued exposure to this silent shutdown generates emotional deterioration. Profound wisdom exists in recognizing that timing and manner often matter more than content itself. Ancient wisdom teaches that before speaking, we should filter our words through 3 essential gates. Does it hold truth? Is it necessary? Does it carry kindness? Yet how frequently does raw emotion override this disciplined approach? In heated moments, the mouth transforms into a weapon, firing not bullets of steel, but syllables. Unlike physical wounds that leave visible scars, verbal wounds remain hidden, manifesting as silence, emotional distance, and subtly broken trust. A woman who speaks with deliberate intention constructs sanctuaries. Her tone extends gentle invitations rather than sharp commands. Her pauses create spaciousness, not tension. She neither remains silent from fear nor speaks loudly from force. She communicates when clarity ripens the moment. She restrains her tongue when emotions remain raw. She distinguishes between reactive impulses and genuine insights. In relationships, particularly romantic ones, communication serves as either love's delivery system or its destroyer. A man processes words not only through his ears, but through his entire nervous system. A woman who controls her speech can offer comfort, inspiration, redirection, or restoration. However, one who speaks unconsciously can demolish an entire emotional foundation within minutes. This involves not perfection in expression, but awakened awareness. There exists a story of a woman in her late 50s, married for over 30 years. When asked about her lasting relationship secret, she smiled, saying, "I discovered that certain truths speak most eloquently through silence, and some battles aren't worth winning if victory costs peace." She explained that during marriage's early years, she would argue for correctness, for being heard, for addressing every minor error. Yet time taught her restraint, subtle artistry, not silence born of suppression, but silence emerging from presence. She learned that pausing before speaking created space for wisdom to enter. More often than not, wisdom chose gentleness. This practice represents mastery, not submission. A significant distinction exists between being silenced and choosing silence. One constitutes oppression, the other embodies liberation. Psychologically, a woman's verbal patterns often form during childhood. If she grew up where communication was sharp, dismissive, or critical, her nervous system may have normalized such expressions. Without self-reflection, she may recreate identical patterns in adulthood. Yet when awareness dawns, new possibilities emerge. She begins understanding that every spoken word either heals wounds or deepens them. Relationships flourish in safe environments. The primary layer of safety isn't physical, it's emotional. A man must feel secure sharing vulnerability, expressing confusion, making mistakes. This safety emerges not through grand gestures, but through daily speech patterns. When she listens without interrupting, responds without blame, softens her voice even during disagreements. These moments weave the threads of lasting connection. Consider the hormonal dimension. When a woman raises her voice or uses harsh tones, a man's cortisol levels spike. Stress escalates. Defensive patterns activate. Yet when she speaks calmly, his oxytocin increases, the hormone linked to bonding and emotional openness. This isn't manipulation, it's biology. Wisdom lies in understanding nature's tools for fostering intimacy. This mouth discipline serves not only others but the woman herself. When she learns speech control, she preserves her energy. She no longer experiences regret over hasty words or exhausts herself explaining and apologizing for reactive moments. She becomes centered, stable. Respect follows not from domination, but from restraint. Now consider the mouth, not merely as word producer, but as energy revealer. Even before forming words, breath carries information. Shallow breathing signals stress. Controlled, deep breathing communicates calm. How a woman exhales before speaking can either escalate or de-escalate conflict. Eastern traditions view breath as the bridge connecting body and mind. When breath remains calm, the mind follows. When breath becomes rushed, the mind scatters. Those practicing breath awareness often speak more slowly, more intentionally. They've trained their physiology to support their communication. This principle extends to mood. While the mouth expresses, mood impresses. Mood creates the invisible atmosphere surrounding a woman's presence. It enters rooms before she speaks, affects home energy, relationship dynamics, and daily rhythms. When a woman carries a foul mood, her energy shifts the environment without uttering a word. Her partner senses it, children feel it, friends adapt to it. Mood broadcasts silently, never hiding. Unlike emotion, which often proves momentary, mood can persist for hours or days. The danger lies in remaining unaware of it. A woman may claim, "I'm fine," while her entire energy contradicts her words. This contradiction confuses relationship. Those around her begin walking on eggshells, uncertain what's permitted safe or triggering. To control mood, one must first understand it. Mood isn't purely emotional. It's biological, influenced by sleep, hormones, nutrition, posture, breath, and internal dialogue. A woman who neglects rest, consumes poor nutrition, and allows negative mental loops will naturally experience darker moods. Without awareness, she'll assume others caused the problem. A man may return home with love, yet she greets him with coldness. Not because he's done wrong, but because mood has hijacked her presence. Over time, this repeated mismatch between intention and reception erodes relational warmth. The man begins withholding, retreating, protecting himself from unpredictability. He doesn't always understand what's happening, but his body signals that emotional intimacy is no longer safe. Children feel this too, along with friends, colleagues, even strangers, all subtly influenced by a woman's mood. This doesn't suggest constant cheerfulness is required. Authenticity matters, yet a difference exists between feeling a mood and becoming it. A woman who allows mood to rule behavior becomes reactive, no longer choosing responses but performing internal storms. There's a powerful story of a single mother struggling with mood swings. After years of financial strain and emotional burnout, she became quick-tempered and emotionally unavailable. Her teenage son began spending more time away from home. One evening, he didn't return. In her panic, she searched everywhere, finding him hours later sitting silently in a park. When asked why he didn't come home, he said quietly, "Because home doesn't feel safe when you're angry." That moment shattered something within her. She realized her unchecked mood had made love feel dangerous. From that day forward, she vowed not to suppress feelings but to manage them. She began morning walks, practiced journaling, learned deep breathing. Gradually, her mood became less volatile. Her son spent more time at home, conversations grew longer, laughter returned. The transformation didn't come from grand external changes, but from her decision to become aware of the emotional climate she was creating. Psychologically, this is emotional self-regulation, the capacity to notice internal arising and choose skillful responses rather than impulsive ones. Neuroscience shows this regulation connects to the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for reasoning, empathy, and decision-making. Under high stress, this area shuts down, allowing reactive behavior to take control. This is why self-care isn't luxury, it's emotional hygiene. When a woman tends to her sleep, breath, and thoughts, she's not being selfish but responsible because her mood impacts everyone she encounters. One simple practice involves checking in with yourself 3 times daily. Morning, afternoon, evening. Ask, what is my emotional weather right now? What thoughts are looping? How does my body feel? This awareness interrupts unconscious patterns. Over time, the woman becomes more attuned to her internal rhythms, recognizing storm signs before they break. She takes space when needed, communicates when calm returns. This internal shift creates external change. Her relationships begin mirroring her inner steadiness. Partners feel more open, children more secure, friends more drawn to her, not because she's always joyful, but because she's emotionally stable. She's made her inner world a sanctuary, not a battlefield. In truth, mood is contagious. When a woman learns self-regulation, she becomes a healing source for others. Her presence uplifts, her energy soothes, her calm becomes others' calm. Mouth and mood mastery aren't separate, they're intertwined. The mouth speaks the mood, mood shapes the mouth. In relationships, they dance constantly. When both are disciplined, they create atmospheres of respect, clarity, and connection. A woman who learns this discipline becomes unforgettable, not for appearance or achievements, but for her ability to bring peace into others' hearts simply through presence. Money for many women appears as something external, earned, saved, spent, or shared. Few pause to consider that money transcends mere currency. It's a mirror reflecting discipline, values, emotional patterns, and often our deepest unconscious beliefs. In relationships, money reveals more than it conceals. It doesn't just construct homes or purchase necessities. It exposes power, dynamics, tests emotional maturity, and silently reveals what we believe we're worth. A woman's relationship with money rarely concerns just numbers. It often begins with upbringing. Was she taught to depend on others for financial security? Was she shamed for wanting more? Did she witness scarcity or generosity in her childhood home? These early imprints shape how she manages finances later and, more importantly, how she behaves in relationships around money. She may overspend to feel valuable, under-earn to remain invisible, or surrender control to her partner to avoid confrontation. Physiologically, money represents energy. When we receive money, we're receiving someone else's time, labor, trust. When we spend it, we're directing energy toward what we value. But when money is managed unconsciously, it drains rather than nourishes. This becomes especially clear in relationships. A woman who constantly gives financially without emotional boundaries often finds herself depleted, not because giving was wrong, but because it came from unspoken fear of being unloved, unless she provides. There's a true story of a woman who financially supported her partner for years while he struggled finding stable work. She never established boundaries. Every request met with, of course. Every need fulfilled before being voiced. Initially, she believed this was love. Selfless, giving, supportive. Yet slowly resentment grew. Not because he asked, but because she never said no. She later realized her fear of rejection kept her in an overgiving cycle. She thought generosity would purchase love. It didn't. It bought silence. The relationship ended not from financial strain, but from emotional imbalance. The wound wasn't in the wallet, but in the heart. True financial empowerment begins not with earning amounts, but with choosing consciously. Does she spend from insecurity, save from fear? Avoid money conversations because they're uncomfortable. These patterns don't just impact her, they impact the entire relationship's emotional tone. When financial decisions lack transparency or alignment, trust begins eroding. Trust, once broken in money matters, often leaks into other areas: affection, communication, respect. In relationships, money should bridge, not barrier. But that bridge requires emotional maturity. Honesty not just about earnings, but about values. Some women value security, others freedom. Some prioritize investment, others experience. There's no universal right approach, only alignment and clarity. When a woman knows her values, she can make awareness-rooted decisions, not reactive ones. Money also reveals relationship power balance. In traditional dynamics, financial dependence often silenced women. Their voices were muted not from having nothing to say, but from fearing disagreement consequences. In modern relationships, silence is no longer protection, it's dignity's slow erosion. A woman who owns her financial choices owns her voice. She's not afraid to say, "That's not within my budget," or "This doesn't align with our goals," or "I need security in this area." She knows love cannot replace responsibility, that emotional connection cannot substitute practical planning. Psychologically, money ties deeply to identity. When a woman feels financially disorganized, she often feels emotionally disoriented. It's not about being rich, it's about being rooted. A clear financial life reflects a clear inner life. When she tracks spending, honors priorities, and chooses consciously, she's not just managing money, she's managing energy. She's sending herself a message: I am worth planning for. I am worth protecting. In relationships, this clarity is magnetic. A man may be drawn to beauty, but he stays for stability. He respects a woman who honors boundaries, doesn't expect rescue, who sees money not as reward, but as freedom's tool. Emotional freedom, mental freedom. The freedom to walk away if needed. The freedom to choose love without fear's trap. This kind of woman doesn't use money to control or manipulate. She doesn't use it to shame or compare. She uses it wisely, investing in herself, her growth, her peace, her future. She teaches through example, not lectures. Even if her income isn't large, her choices are strong. Because strength lies not in amount, but in alignment. A powerful practice is financial journaling. Each week, write down 3 things: what you spent, why you spent it, and how it made you feel. Over time, patterns emerge. Emotional spending becomes visible. Guilt-based giving reveals itself. Unnecessary purchases lose their grip. Awareness returns. From awareness, wisdom begins. This journey isn't about becoming rigid or controlling. It's about becoming conscious. A woman in financial control isn't cold. She's clear. Clarity in money often brings clarity in relationships. No more arguments about bills or budgets. Conversations shift to shared vision, mutual respect, and aligned values. This isn't fantasy. It's discipline's fruit. Just as money reflects choice, so does the mind. The mind, like a garden, grows what's planted. If a woman allows anxiety, fear, and doubt to take root, her life becomes chaotic regardless of outward success. But when she learns to guide thoughts with awareness, to pause and redirect, she becomes her inner world's master. That mastery radiates into every relationship. Thoughts shape perception. Perception shapes behavior. Behavior shapes connection. In relationships, The stories a woman tells herself about her partner, about love, about her own worth. These stories influence everything. A woman who constantly thinks, will leave me, may act clingy or suspicious. A woman who believes, I must do everything, may carry resentment while overfunctioning. These patterns don't begin in the home, they begin in the mind. Neuroscience reveals the brain is plastic, molding and rewiring based on repeated thoughts. This means every time a woman thinks, I'm not enough, that pathway strengthens. But the opposite is also true. Every time she pauses, breathes, and chooses a new thought, I am centered, or I choose peace, she's not just calming herself, she's resculpting her brain. This isn't wishful thinking, it's biology. From this biology arises new possibility. Imagine a woman who wakes each morning and, before touching her phone, closes her eyes and centers her mind. She breathes deeply. She names her intention, not just for work or errands, but for energy. Today I remain calm. Today I listen before speaking. Today I honor myself without guilt. These statements may seem small, but over time they become pillars protecting her from external pressure storms. In relationships, mental clarity is a gift. A woman who observes her thoughts instead of reacting to them can see patterns others miss. She notices when she's projecting old wounds onto her partner. She catches herself before making assumptions. She responds instead of reacting. This doesn't make her emotionless, it makes her powerful. There's a simple story of a couple who fought constantly. The woman often accused her partner of being distant. He, in turn, felt suffocated. After years of conflict, she began therapy. One day, she realized her fear of abandonment wasn't rooted in his actions, but in her childhood. Her father had left when she was 10. Every time her partner pulled away to focus or recharge, her mind screamed, he's leaving too. But once she saw the origin, she stopped blaming him. She spoke from awareness, not fear. Their relationship transformed, not because he changed, but because her mind became quiet. In many relationships, breakdown isn't in love, it's in the mind's noise. Expectations clash. Interpretations skew meaning. Old wounds color present interactions. Without mindfulness, two people begin fighting shadows instead of solving problems. The mind is like a river. Left unchecked, it rushes wildly, carrying debris. But with guidance, it becomes nourishment's source. A woman who learns to sit with her thoughts, not judging, not escaping, but witnessing, begins experiencing spaciousness. She sees where she's been hard on herself. She notices where she's operating from fear instead of love. In that stillness, new power is born. This stillness doesn't make her passive. It makes her precise. She knows when to speak and when to wait, when to act and when to observe. She doesn't need to control everything because she trusts her own alignment. This trust radiates. Her friends feel it. It's not in her words, it's in her presence. Mental clarity also allows a woman to discern between emotion and truth. Feelings are valid, but not always accurate. A woman may feel unloved because her partner didn't text, but truth may reveal he was simply busy. A woman may feel rejected because of silence, but truth may show it was space, not dismissal. When the mind is calm, it sees this distinction. It doesn't spiral, it explores. When a woman lives in this space, where her money is aligned and her mind is anchored, her relationships take on a different tone. She no longer demands love, she invites it. She no longer fears loss. She welcomes connection, knowing her value isn't attached to someone else's attention. Her love becomes clear, not desperate, not needy, not manipulative, just clear. In that clarity, something beautiful emerges: mutual respect, sacred space, and the quiet power of a woman who knows herself. What remains uncontrolled within yourself will eventually control your relationship. This is a truth many women discover only after experiencing emotional exhaustion, repeated disappointment, or subtle disrespect. When a woman carries inner chaos, unhealed patterns, unspoken insecurities, reactive emotions, she unknowingly teaches others how to treat her. The energy she brings into a space becomes the standard of what she'll accept. In this way, the mirror effect is always at play. A partner reflects back what's being projected, even when unconscious. If a woman allows fears to dictate behavior, she attracts fear-shaped relationships. If she anchors herself in clarity and emotional discipline, she attracts connection that respects those qualities. It's a sobering realization. People don't always treat you how you deserve. They treat you according to what you allow. What you allow is often rooted in what you tolerate within yourself. The emotional loops you repeat when alone become the emotional expectations you bring into partnership. So the man doesn't just meet you in the present moment. He meets your patterns, your history, your unspoken beliefs about what love should feel like. This is why self-mastery isn't just a personal journey. It's a relational one. A woman who doesn't regulate her inner world becomes controlled by external circumstances. She's happy when things go her way, anxious when they don't, affectionate when secure, withdrawn when uncertain. The relationship becomes a roller coaster, not because of the partner, but because of internal instability. It doesn't make her weak or unworthy. It makes her human. But it also offers an invitation to choose stillness over reaction, awareness over assumption, response over reactivity. There's a story of a woman who had been in a series of emotionally chaotic relationships. Each man she dated would begin with enthusiasm, then pull away. She believed she was cursed or unlucky. One day, during quiet reflection, she asked herself a hard question. What pattern was she bringing to these relationships? She realized that every time she felt even the slightest withdrawal from her partner, she panicked. She would become clingy, seek validation, or accuse him of losing interest. Her fear of abandonment was so loud it drowned out any real connection. She didn't lose them because